Like to call to order the Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 Administrative and Finance Committees. We'll start with roll call. Alder Mike Milky.
Here.
Alder Kathleen Lohendorf.
Here.
And myself, Alder Stephen Knott, am also present. Moving on to the next item, consideration and action on minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll move to approve the minutes and place on file.
A second.
Motion to approve by Alder Milky and motion to second by Alder Lohendorf. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3 is public input. Anyone wishing to provide public input will be limited to 3 minutes. Anyone providing public input, please identify your name and your address. Is that on green?
It is.
Okay, good.
I'm Angela Pizarnik. I live at 1508 Cliffview Avenue here in Unalaska. I am a poll worker for the elections, and I just want to let you guys know that I hope you guys can approve the Badger Books program because I was able to go and test it out, and it's fantastic. It will help eliminate a lot of the human error that we currently or historically have had when it comes to the elections. And the efficiency will increase dramatically. I was able to test that probably within a minute, you can register and have the person vote within a minute of scanning their ID. So I really hope that you guys approve this, and it is a fantastic program. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public input? Second call for public input. Anyone online? Third and final call for public input. Public input is closed. Moving on to item number 4, recruitment update from Human Resources Director Amy Franzen. Amy.
Yes, good evening. So we have had 0 hires of our regular positions in May, but we are working through a few of our open positions right now. Planning associate, we are working with a candidate, hope to bring them on board later this year. Office specialist. Again, we're hoping to bring that candidate on board by the end of the month. And then Parks Labor, we're working with a candidate that we are hoping to have on board next week. So we're moving along very quickly with our open positions. And then we always have our various seasonal positions that we're always accepting applications for.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Moving on to item number 5 is the Class C wine license application for Ram Locken LLC. Baymont by Wyndham, located at 3300 North Kinney Cooley Road from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6, Class C wine license application for JMB JMB Cycles LLC, Great River Harley Davidson, located at 1116 Oak Forest Drive from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion approved by myself, seconded by Alder Milky. Discussion? Yes.
I just have a question. Thank you, Chair. For the date 7/1/2025 to 6/30/2026, this is something where they'll be applying every year for this?
Yep, the applicant would have the option to renew every year.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
I had a question. Is it just in the note in here says it's an alcohol license, but it's listed as a wine license. Is that the same thing?
I didn't catch the first part of what you said, Kathy.
They have a letter in here to the city of Unalaska asking to expand in the next agenda item. Is it just an alcohol license or is it specifically a wine license?
It is specifically a wine license. So even for their events that they want to have that third Saturday of the month of July, August, and September, the only alcohol that they'd be able to serve is wine.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 8, we can address all at once unless somebody wants to pull one. And that's the appointment of the agent for alcohol licenses for,
Chair, we missed one.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Item number 7. I got ahead of myself. Amendment to the Class C wine license for J&B Cycles LLC, Great River, Harley Davidson for Saturday, July 19th, Saturday, August 16th, and Saturday, September 20th to include parking lot from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion. Yes.
I just see, I appreciate you being here, Rhodey. I see that we have it fenced off, for public safety. That's nice. The time of the event, 9 to 12, seems pretty fair. So I guess I appreciate the image and everything you've put forth for us to take a look at tonight.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Now item number 8. And again, unless somebody wants to pull one, we'll just do these all at once. It's appointment of agent for alcohol licenses for Brody Meyer for J&B Cycles LLC, Great River Harley Davidson, 1116 Oak Forest Drive, for Elizabeth Niles for Struck Clanrud Post 336 on Alaska American Legion Post 336731 Sand Lake Road, for Zin Jian Lee for Shogun on Alaska, Shogun Shushi and Hibachi 1227 Crossing Meadows Drive, and for Walter Salaveria for SBG Apple North 5 LLC, Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar, 9364 State Road 16. And I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Alder Milky. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 9, update regarding alcohol compliance checks completed by the Onalaska Police Department. We have that in our packet. Is somebody going to be presenting on that as well? I don't see any of the law enforcement.
No, did you have any specific questions?
Does anyone have any questions or clarification they'd like on item number 9?
And I just want to clarify, so the K-9 golf outing is going on today, so everybody from the police department is over at Cedar Creek at the moment, so that's why there was nobody here for that this evening, otherwise they would have been here to answer any questions. So Chief did put together the information that is in the packet, but yeah, if there were any questions, we can certainly field any of those for you as well.
Have any questions? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 10, and we'll do these all at once unless somebody wants to pull one specifically. Okay, alcohol beverage license renewals for July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. Class A malt beverage and liquor combo licenses, Class B malt beverage and liquor combo licenses, Class B malt beverage licenses, Class C wine licenses, and outdoor venue licenses. And you have a chart that lists all of them that is included in the packet. And I will move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by myself, seconded by Alder Lohendorf. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 11. Ordinance 1821-2025 to amend Chapter 4 of Title 5 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Onalaska relating to regulation of alarm systems. And those are underlined in your packet. Did anyone here want to present anything on that from the staff?
I'm happy to answer any questions if you had them. This was a request by the police department, specifically with respect to the permits for private alarm systems, and the revocations of those permits is what sort of drove this. We haven't actually issued those permits in the last several years. And so we, just the chief did not feel like it was something that needed to be permitted. And quite frankly, it would be an administrative burden to do so. And then my rule of thumb sort of is, if we're going into a chapter and we're going to take something out of it, we look at the chapter to see if there's anything else we want to clean up. And so there were just a few minor changes that the chiefs had, both on fire and police, to just update a little bit of verbiage. As you can see, for example, alarm systems actually respond to La Crosse County Emergency Services, not directly to the police department. So we updated that. And just cleaned up a little bit of language throughout.
Yeah, it looks like it's mostly condensed and clarified. I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by myself, seconded by Alder Milky. Is there any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That ordinance passes and moves on to common council. Item number 12, ordinance 1822 to 2025. All right, let me try that one more time. Ordinance 1822-2025 to annex land located in part of the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter in section 32, township 17 north, range 07 west from the town of Onalaska to the city of Onalaska. I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by myself, seconded by Alder Lohendorf. Is there, yes, Joanne?
I did discover a typo on this today. At the bottom of page 30, it indicates that if this parcel is annexed, it would become part of Second Aldermanic District, Ward 15. And actually, if this parcel is annexed, it's going to create a new ward for the city of Onalaska, and it will be Ward 16. So that will be corrected and put into the council packet.
Okay, so second Alderman District, new Ward 16.
Yeah.
It's corrected online, but what's in the packet indicated
Okay,
15. So if you're looking at your paper packet right now, it shows Ward 15. Online, it's been corrected already to show Ward 16.
we don't need to amend, it'll just be corrected. Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to item number 13, ordinance 1823-2025 to amend sections 13.02.68.q and 13.02.68.t of Title 13 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Onalaska related to specific accessory uses. Amanda, why don't you, give us a little input on that one?
Yeah, so this is one that was largely driven by the need to update our ordinance to ensure that it was in compliance with Wisconsin state statutes. So for those of you that have been around a while, there was a really big overhaul of telecommunication structures and ordinances relating to them maybe a decade ago. And then a few years later, there was sort of a secondary overhaul, and we never updated to the secondary overhaul. And so this ordinance is really just meant to bring us into compliance with the state statutes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Alder Milky. Any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question. Do we know if when this goes in effect, will it affect certain residences around the Onalaska right now?
No, not really. It's really, so the major changes happened in that sort of first wave, and that really restricted our ability to regulate telecommunications towers. So back in the 90s and early 2000s, we were allowed to have requirements like it had to be a stealth tower, or it had to, and the state came in and basically sort of said, you can put a telecommunication structure just about anywhere, short of a few requirements that we're able to look at. And so all of our existing ones are either grandfathered in or they're already compliant. And so what we often see more than anything is co-locations where somebody wants to put another, like almost like a mini tower on an existing tower. We see far more of those at this point than we see actual new applications.
Okay, thank you.
And again, this looks like it's vastly condensed and simplified too, so. Any other questions, discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 14, ordinance 1824-2025 to rezone 2 parcels of land located in section 8, township 16N, range 07W in the city of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin, from mixed-use neighborhood district to parks and open space P2 district. Katie.
Thank you. So this rezoning request is tied to the potential for the Dash Park expansion. It was unanimously approved at the Plan Commission meeting.
I'll move to approve.
A second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Alder Lohendorf. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 15, ordinance 1825-2025 to rezone two parcels of land located in section 09, township 16N, range 07W in the city of Onalaska, La Crosse County, Wisconsin, from Parks and Open Space P2 district to low medium density R2. And again, back to Katie.
Thank you. So this is the final step that the city has in order to subdivide off two parcels of land that are currently part of Oakwoods Park to the neighboring property owners. We were waiting for those parcels to come through, and they now have. So we're looking to rezone these parcels so we can give them to the neighboring property owners. Thank you.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Alder Milky. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the administrative portion, and I'll be turning it over to Mike for the finance.
Thank you, Alder Nutt. Item 16, authorization to purchase electronic polls books, Badger books, in the amount of $53,450.73 using the funds from the Equipment Replacement Fund, and I will move to approve.
I'll second.
Do we have any, Joanne, do you want to talk a bit about this?
Yep, thank you, Chair. So we feel very strongly that Badger Books are going to create efficiencies both at the voter level, at the poll worker level, and for Stacy and I as clerks. So I provided you tonight at your seats, there was an email from La Crosse County Clerk Jenny Dankmeyer indicating her support, as well as I believe 3 emails from other poll workers that have indicated their support who had a chance to come to the demo earlier, about a month or so ago. So when I started with the city 9 years ago, we had about 3,300 voters per district. We are now up to 4,200 voters per district. So we're talking about another 900 voters at each of our polling locations that we have to process. And additionally, the voter turnout has increased significantly through the last several years. In November, we had a voter turnout of 98% in the city of Onalaska. So we're talking about 12,000 voters came out to vote in November. So we are looking for ways to be able to provide the best voting experience for our voters and to reduce some of the substantial workload that falls on a department of 2 people. So as your memo explains in the packet, Badger Books are an electronic copy of the paper poll books. So for larger elections, we used to split our poll books in 2, like A through L, M through Z. As elections have gotten bigger and busier, we now split them 3 ways, and we still have a hard time managing the lines. There's still voters waiting a significant amount of time. So I'm going to walk you through what our current process is to help you get a better visual. Mike, I'm going to use you as our voter, okay? And Stacy and I are your poll workers. So you're going to come to the polling place and you're going to get in line based on your last name. But your next door neighbor might walk in and his last name starts with A and there's nobody in line for his line and he gets to walk right in. But since you start with M, you're in a different line and you might have to wait behind 20, 30, 40 voters. That becomes very frustrating for a voter. So you're going to approach Stacy and I and you're going to state your name and address and show us your photo ID. Both Stacy and I will have identical poll books sitting in front of us. And we have to find you in the poll book, each of us individually. So Stacy might look you up under MIE for Milky, and I might look under MEI. So now we've wasted some time trying to find you in the poll book, right? All of this is time consuming. It's turning pages. But instead of Milky, let's say your last name was Smith. So now we've narrowed you down. We found the Smiths, but now there's 7 pages of Smiths. We also have to narrow you down that way. There also might be more than one Mike Smith. So we have to narrow down, make sure we have the right Mike Smith. Is it you or is it your dad? So all of that is very time consuming. The next step that we're going to do is issue a voter number. So let's say your voter number is 1320. So Stacy and I have to individually write down 1320 in both of our books because at the end of the night, we should have identical books. But my hand and brain aren't working together and I transpose that and I put 1302. And she writes 1320. And we need to reconcile our books at the end of the night and they need to match. So there's a lot of time spent trying to figure out where that error occurred and which one of us was right, which one was wrong. Also, Stacy could potentially write it on your dad's line instead of your line. So now that number's not on the right line, we need to figure out whose line did that belong on. Or you and I might get to talking and I forget to write the number at all. Those are all human errors that happen on election day that Badger Books would help eliminate. So after we've given you your voter number, now you need to sign the poll book. And again, we might get to talking and you're writing your name, you're about to write your name, you see your neighbor walk in and you get distracted and you never actually end up signing the poll book, or you ended up signing on your dad's line. Again, one of those human errors that happen on election day that would be avoided during using Badger Books. So that process that we currently have takes about 60 to 90 seconds per voter. So how the Badger Books would work is now when you walk into the polling place, you can get in any line. It's no longer broken down by alphabet. That Badger Book, the electronic poll book, contains every voter in the city of Onalaska, so you can get in any line. You still need to state your name and show your photo ID. And now as a poll worker, I'm going to type in the first 3 letters of your first name and the first 3 letters of your last name. And it's going to auto-populate the voters that fit that criteria. Much quicker than paging through the books and 2 different people finding that. On the screen, I'll select the correct Mike Milky based on your name and your address. Flip the screen around. It's basically an iPad on a stand. I'm going to flip the iPad around and you're going to look at that and verify. I'm going to ask Mike, please verify what's on the screen. Is this you? You will click verify and then a signature box comes up and then you will sign. I twist the screen back around. I confirm that you have signed and I click accept, and then a voter ticket automatically prints from a little standalone printer that's next to it. And that voter ticket is going to have your name, your voter number, and the ballot style that you need to be issued that day. Because based on the particular election, there might be 5 different ballot styles at one polling location, and it's going to tell us which ballot you need to vote on. That whole process takes about 15 to 30 seconds. So not only do you no longer have to wait in line when there's available poll workers, the check-in process is also half the time. So what about if you need to register to vote? So right now that process would mean that you have to get in line to go register to vote. It is a paper application. And there's a lot of information on that paper application that needs to be transferred over from your driver's license. So what can happen there is, with anything that's done manually by a human, is errors. So especially when we're talking about a 14-digit driver's license number, is it? That they need to copy over from their driver's license onto this paper application that we need to eventually upload into the system, and it needs to match the DMV. And if it doesn't match, it bounces back to us, and we need to eventually reach out to that voter and have them verify their driver's license number to us. Your name also needs to match exactly what's on your driver's license. So if you wrote down Mike and your driver's license says Michael, it's also going to bounce back as being wrong. So all of those scenarios, a hyphenated last name, you only wrote down your first initial for your middle name instead of your whole middle name. Those are all the things that create a lot of work for us in the back end that Badger Books would eliminate, because the way that if you're using your driver's license to register to vote because your driver's license has your current address on it, we can scan the barcode on the back of your driver's license and it all auto-populates within seconds. The process that used to take minutes to handwrite with errors will now take seconds. And the other great part about that is that currently you get in line to register to vote. You complete that registration, and now you have to get back in line to check in to vote at the poll books. So now you're standing in 2 lines. And again, it might be that same scenario where that check-in line has got 30 people in it. So after you register to vote, now you've got to get in that long line to check in to vote. You won't have to do that anymore because they can take care of that all at one Badger station. We spend weeks after an election working on all of those things that I'm talking about that human error can create. The biggest thing for us is the voter numbers. At the end of the day, the last voter number given out needs to be the number that's on that machine, the number that matches the tabulator. So if the last voter number we issued for that night was 4,001, there should have been 4,001 ballots fed through that machine. So if that voter number given out doesn't match what's on the machine, we have to spend hours, days, trying to go back and figure out what was the scenario that happened that those voter numbers don't match. Did 2 numbers stick together? Was the pad that we got printed from the printer, did it miss a number? Did it duplicate a number? We've seen all of those scenarios happen. And with Badger Books, it's not possible for that to happen. So after Election Day, there's still a significant amount of work that clerks have to do. The last presidential, it took Stacy and I 3 weeks to complete everything that we needed to do for our post-election work. This post-election work that took us 3 weeks could be done in hours. Not days, not weeks, but hours. Literally, it sounds like 2 to 3 hours. It could be done, everything that took us weeks to accomplish before. So the way that it works is there's a USB stick that we will download the voter information from the Wisconsin voter database system. That USB stick is then taken to the polls, loaded onto a server computer. And then the client machines speak to the server computer throughout the day using a router. It's never connected to the internet at any time. At the end of the day, we take that USB stick and take it back to our office and upload it into the Wisconsin voter database. And our IT director, Joe Olinger, is here tonight. So he is willing to cover anything a little bit more technical on that because he did come to the demo and was able to ask questions to the Wisconsin Elections Commission as well. I'm going to have Stacy talk about some of our post-election work so you can get an idea, not only the efficiencies that this is going to create for voters, but what our post-election work currently looks like.
So currently after an election, on election night, we have to take the supplemental poll book. So if you came in and registered that day and then you go to get your ballot, they have to write your name, your address. They have to handwrite it into an extra poll book and then put your number beside that. And then you sign in that extra poll book. So at the end of the night, we have to gather all those together. We have to photocopy all those pages for our copies and then for the La Crosse County Clerk copy. Then we have to double count all the election day registrations to make sure that they match all the people that are in the supplemental poll book. And if that doesn't match, then we have to figure out why, who got missed, or sometimes somebody gets a certificate and they shouldn't have been put in this supplemental poll book. They were already in the back of the poll book kind of thing. And that can take a lot of time to figure out what those are. And now with Badger Books, we wouldn't have to do that because they're registering directly into the polling system. And it will generate the report at the end of the night of exactly who registered that day, rather than trying to match up all these different things. And I don't know, I welcome you to come and look sometime, but trying to read some of these election day registrations, because people are in a hurry, especially this last presidential, like trying to read what they're writing on these registration forms was really hard. And it took us a long time to get to that. Now they can just, it's right in the computer. If they spell their name wrong, you know, that's kind of on them, but at least we don't have to sit there and try to figure out how they spell their name or what number or dates of birth. And it never fails that like every expiration number on a driver's license is almost never correct. We do a lot of time working with the police department and bothering them about that. So that would take away from that as well. If the district balances the next day, we have to manually enter all those election day registrations into the computer system, which takes a lot of time when you're talking hundreds of election day registrations. Then you have to take the paper poll book and you have to scan with a little barcode scanner each person that voted. And sometimes you accidentally get 2 people. So then you have to go back and figure out which one it was that you didn't want there. And then when you're done with that, you have to print a report for all the absentees. And then with that report, you have to go through and black out the barcodes of all the people who didn't vote absentee. Then you have to scan all those in. And then you hit total and you pray that your district balanced. And if it doesn't, you have a lot of work to try to find where that error is. At the end of the night, if the district doesn't balance, the next morning, we have to look at all the paperwork, all the tapes, try to figure out what could have went wrong. And if we can't figure it out, we have to take what's called the number checker, which is just spreadsheets full of numbers. And we have to start through the poll books and we have to say, you know, Stephen Knott was number 321. And then we have to go to the spreadsheet and cross off 321. And we keep doing that till we find if there's a duplicate or missing number. And sometimes that's at the end of the poll book. So, that could take days. And one of the presidentials, it took days to try to go through that because you can only go so long. And before you know it, you can't even read the numbers anymore on the poll checker. Then once you find that, then again, you have to enter all the EDRs for that district, scan all the voters. Then you have to go through the whole process with the absentees. And then again, you push the button and you really hope that you found your error and that you were able to balance at the end of the night. If everything works fine, the next day when you're all done with everything, you have to take out all the paper pages from all the poll books, make sure they're in the correct order, bind them together to go down to the county clerk, make sure all the signatures are on everything. And now with Badger Books, it's all in the system. So the signatures are there. You print the poll book directly out. It comes out, you're done. You take it down to the county to be going through her process for the county clerk. So it's an enormous amount of time. And that doesn't even cover what we're doing in the front with all the absentee ballots that are coming in. There's tons and tons of work there as well. So.
Whether or not.
A couple things. Well, first off, I got to say, God bless Joanna Stacy and also all of our poll workers that are volunteering because this got to be a very frustrating process.
Yeah, I do want to be clear about the human error has nothing to do with our poll workers. They are
course.
phenomenal. We have the best poll workers that you could ever ask for. But unfortunately, no one's a computer.
Yeah, I
And
would
so
question-
human error will just happen.
So I'm sold on the efficiency of this. I mean, what you've just described on how we're doing it right now, the number of process steps is staggering. And each time you have a new step in any process for anything creates new opportunities for error. So I get that. I also think that making the process far less frustrating and difficult has got to be able to help us with recruiting and retaining poll workers as well in the future. I do have a couple of questions though. My only concerns, and I'm hoping you can address them, all come under the security/election integrity side of the house, as well as cost. And we'll have to hear from Sabrina on that. But so number one, this is going to have an immense amount of personally identifiable information, the PII of all the voters in it. Is this a standalone server or is this connected to the World Wide Web?
I'll take that. It is actually a standalone. Basically what they do is you have a standalone network. So there's one router that's hooked up to the server, and then there's however many poll book stations we have attached to that. While I was there talking to them, my one concern was if we had to have a building shut down and have two different polling locations in the same building next to each other. And the system is set up so that each server would have its own router, own passwords, not connected to the internet. With that little USB stick that Joanne was talking about, they download all the data, put it into the server, and at the end of the night, they take that back and upload it. So it's the only time that data is anywhere is when it's getting uploaded back into the system. But while people are voting, it is not attached to the internet at all.
And while with that data stick, when it's going from one system to another, is it prior to downloading anything, is it being scanned itself for any type of corruption?
For corruption, no,
Yeah,
not,
you're right.
I
That's
mean,
wrong
nothing
with
other
where
than
you're
what
going.
Windows normally does. But if in the event of like there was somebody trying to load some kind of virus or something.
Yes, that's where I was. going.
So we have an EDR program that actually does scan when you stick a USB drive in and does pick up notifications on that as I get alerted
Okay.
often.
And then the second one I have on this has to do with the signature. So understand the signature is going to be with the finger of the voter,
Finger or stylus.
which of course is pretty much almost always not going to look at anything like the signature on the driver's license. But the driver's license itself is being scanned. Is that what I understood?
It's being scanned if they're using it to provide their proof of residency. So when they're registering to vote, we would be scanning the barcode on the back of the driver's license to auto-populate all the information that's on the driver's license. If you're coming in just to check in to vote, we wouldn't be scanning it.
So how is, I'm coming in just to vote because I'm already registered.
Yep.
How is my identity verified by the machine?
It's not verified by machine, it's verified by a poll worker. So that part hasn't changed. It's still a poll worker will be looking at your photo ID and comparing it to you in person.
Okay. But the signature, of course.
Yeah, we're never verifying a
just eliminate
signature.
that step. 'cause
Yep,
it's
at
not
any
doing
time,
anything like it.
we're not ever comparing the signature on your driver's license to the signature that you put in the poll book. That's not part of the election process.
Okay.
And if someone's ID had, like, let's say they moved, had an old address, that'll be red flagged or not, I don't know if that's the right word, but they'll be flagged and they'll have to go to another station, fill out some other paperwork and then get that reloaded, correct?
Correct. Yep. And that's the other great part about Badger Books is that it will tell us directly where that person needs to go. Right now, there's kind of a manual process where you have to page through based on somebody's address to find out which district it is. And this will automatically pop up on the screen and tell us you need to go vote in District 2 or you need to go vote in the town of Onalaska. It will, again, save time that way. And as far as the PII that you talked about, Stephen, the only thing that's going to be downloaded on that USB stick is the same information that's in the poll book right now. It's not going to add information that might be in the voter database that's not necessary to be at the polls on election day. So like if your birth date is in the voter database, that's not going out to the polls that day. It would be the exact same information that is in the poll books currently.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions too. Specifically also around security mostly. So once you have, so you're downloading all the information to a USB drive and then re-uploading it at the end of the night, I'm assuming to mark any new registrations, right? And anybody that may have checked in to vote. What happens to the information on the USB? Because it's not just moved, right? It's usually a copy is usually made. Is the USB then reformatted by somebody? Or is it destroyed?
Our intention would be to never reuse that same USB. That would be kept for the certain amount of time that we need to, whatever the Elections Commission determines the length of time that we need to keep something. Right now, it's 22 months for most items involving an election.
Okay.
But then it would be destroyed using resources through that Joe would have for IT to make sure that no information could be taken from there. But keep in mind, the information that would be on there would be the same as what's in a poll book, which is a public record. So just to give you some peace of mind that that wouldn't be, if something were to happen, somebody got their hands on that, there isn't anything in there that they could use that they wouldn't already have access to through a public records request.
And then what is the company doing with the data itself? So like, obviously they're a middleman between the city and the state to some extent, right? They have the information that's being uploaded through them.
The state is the company that creates the software. They're the only ones involved. There is no middleman. So it is
Got
the
it.
Wisconsin Election Commission created and maintains the software.
Okay.
The only other person involved is the vendor who creates the hardware. So it's the actual, like iPad screens, the towers, the printers. So that's what this request is tonight, is to purchase that hardware that we need to be able to operate the Badger Books. But the actual software is completely through the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
Got it. Yeah, I did see that it's approved by or certified by the Election Commission. So I do appreciate that. I think that was it. That was my questions.
One more, with this USB for the upload, download process that takes place, how are we maintaining a chain of custody on that USB?
There is a chain of custody involved in everything dealing with elections. So it would be put into a sealed bag that we have to insert a seal where we keep track of what that seal number is on a log. And then when it comes back to the clerk's office before you can open it, you have to verify that same seal number is still on that bag. Anytime it's transported, anything to do with elections has a security trail with it. And this would be the same with anything. When you think about the memory stick that's used in the tabulator, it would be treated the same way. It's going to be put into a sealed bag with a security seal on it that's recorded.
Okay.
And everything, anytime that bag is opened or closed, it has to be signed off and initialed.
Okay. Thank you.
Joe had a comment.
Yep, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so just for clarification on the actual hardware, they're not iPads. They're actually HP computers and printers that were actually designed for this exact purpose. And they've been in use for about 8 years now, so it's not new technology, and this is nothing new to the rest of the state. On the east side of the state, I think they said at least 60% of the people on the east side of the state are already doing this, so.
In case the USB stick were to fail and you went back and you were to load it and you're like, oh shoot, it failed. Could you go back and reload on a different stick, or I'm just wondering.
Potentially you could, but we always need to be prepared for any scenario. So we would always have paper poll books ready to go. So if a tornado came through and we lost power, whatever that scenario is, we're always going to be ready to fall back on the old system. With paper poll books, will always be printed and ready to go, and our numbers will be ready to go as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other discussion up here? Otherwise, I'm gonna pass.
Question for Sabrina.
Yeah.
Where's the money coming from?
Great question. So we do have our equipment replacement fund, which is for, this type of purpose. This is actually a perfect candidate for the equipment replacement fund. It's something that would provide efficiencies for the city, and then something that doesn't have like a yearly cost, right? So that's where I would recommend it would come from. I know we just bought a $1.1 million fire truck, but based on how, the year is going and the fact that, just the efficiencies from this project, I would recommend that it would come from there. And I think Rick agreed with that as well, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to simply say that I do support the purchase of this if council were, or and after we go along with it to forward on to council. The things that Joanne has been talking about, I've had conversations with her as well too, just the time and the convenience and just the fact, how it's going to impact her department particularly is well worth it in my opinion. So I would certainly support this as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder.
Joe, it sounds like you're somewhat familiar with this software that we'd be using.
Familiar with it. I went to the demo. I talked to the people that do the support for this. I was able to ask all the questions that I had as far as from the security standpoint. In my opinion, I would say that it's as secure as you can get. And, if you were to ask me, is there a weak spot in the system, it would be the USB stick. However, the fact that none of the information on that USB stick is anything that isn't public information anyways, there shouldn't be an issue.
Thanks.
And I do like that there's no annual fee or anything on this as well. So that's another nice benefit.
Yeah, correct. It is a one-time purchase price. I did want to share that during the last presidential election, the 3 weeks surrounding that election, Stacy and I worked 80+ hours a week, not combined individually. We each worked 80-hour weeks for 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And the other weeks surrounding that weren't quite as bad, but they were up there. So we are really hopeful that this will create efficiencies for us to decrease the workload on a 2-person department, because during election season, we still have to do all of our other day jobs, right? We still have to do all the licensing, the agendas and the minutes and the permits and all of those things still continue. So we are hopeful that with this, that we will be able to continue with a 2-person department. Otherwise, we might have to be looking for other ways to get help.
I lied. All right.
Go ahead, Alder
no,
Knott.
one of your questions just keyed something else too. So, is this system able to be updated, or is it going to just over time become obsolete from?
It has updates pretty much every election cycle. The
Okay.
state is constantly doing updates. And to be honest, it's kind of why we didn't want to jump on board initially when it first came out in 2017. We didn't want to be a guinea pig for the project. And we feel after this amount of time that it's been tried and tested, and we feel really confident. And we've talked to many clerks around the state who tell us this will change our lives. So we are very excited about the potential that this has.
IT Director Joe.
So essentially, the back end of this is a Windows computer. So and before any election, we would have to boot them up ahead of time, run all the Windows updates that need to be ran, do all that stuff to ensure that everything is up to date, and secure. So.
We have anybody else who wants to speak about this? Any other discussion? All right, we had a motion by myself and second by Alder Knott, and we will go to vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item 17, proposed City of Onalaska 2025 fee schedule modifications. I'll pass this over to Katie.
Thank you. So included in your packet, we are looking at reviewing our 2025 fee schedule. This came as a result of our review of our fee schedules due to our incoming software conversion to BSNA. So one of the first things that I wanted to talk with you about is that we currently have a maximum permit fee. It is a ceiling that the City of Onalaska has chosen to enact on any permit so that for building permits alone, you could not be charged more than $50,000. Based on the fact that we are running out of land, and because of that, we will not have the opportunity to gather many more of these large permit fees. And I don't believe we should be artificially shorting ourselves with this cap any longer. In between 2024 and 2025 alone, we essentially had not collected over $100,000 in revenue because of this fee cap. So I am suggesting that we remove that maximum fee from our code and we charge what our formula would require us to. The second item is the Class 2 co-locations, along with the ordinance that you reviewed tonight for telecommunications structures. We are no longer going to be doing conditional use permits for our Class 2 co-locations. Instead, I am recommending that we create the Class 2 co-location or radio broadcast and antenna permit. It would have a proposed fee of $250. The reason for the reduced rate is that we no longer are paying for publication costs, and this is reviewed in-house by staff as opposed to moving through the Plan Commission meeting cycle, which is one of the reasons that the original fee was higher. The third part talks about general fee removal, again with the conversion, looking at a review of our inspection department permits. There were a list of fees that were repeated throughout, miscellaneous fees, also re-inspection fees for all of the different trades. So what I am proposing that we're doing is removing those miscellaneous fees. And instead, what we have been doing is we've been charging the correct, I would argue, fee. If it's a building permit, we charge a building permit fee. If it's an electrical permit fee, we charge the electrical permit fee instead of calling it these miscellaneous. And then removing the trade-specific re-inspection fee, we would still retain a re-inspection fee if it became necessary and relevant. It has not historically, but we would still have that on there like other departments do for their particular department re-inspections as they are needed. Are there any questions specific to the memo that you'd like me to go into further?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. A motion by Alder Knott and a second by Alder Milky. Any discussion? I guess it looks like it's a much, especially under this, the third part, the general fee removal, much more streamlined for staff especially, but also for our residents and contractors. So it looks great to me. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item 18, 2025 Omni Center financials. I'll pass this over to our finance director, Sabrina.
Thank you. In your packets, starting on page 68, is the balance sheet for the Omni Center through April 30th of 2025. Then following behind there is the budget report for the Omni Center as well. If I can draw your attention to page 71, year to April 30th, 2025 revenues, we are coming in at $340,637.77. We did go in and we were able to put in the first quarter room tax, which was the $32,183.10 that got transferred to the Omni Center. We also did do a journal entry to record the first quarter liquor sales as well. As of April 30th of 2024, we were sitting at 51.6% remaining in total revenues. I can say with talking with Dan as well as Justin, we did kind of increase some of our revenue lines. So that's kind of why we're not as high as a percentage as we were as of April 30th of 2024. Still feel confident that we'll hit our total revenues as of now. And then taking a look at expenses, if I can draw your attention to page 73. Expenses through April 30th of 2025 are $317,903.45, with 61.16% remaining of total budgeted expenses. As of April 30th of 2024, we were at 64.2% remaining, so pretty close to where we were at in 2024. So again, feeling confident and don't have too much else to mention regarding the Omni, but Dan is here if you have questions, or I can answer any questions as well.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Mhm.
Any questions?
No.
Do we have a motion? I guess I will move to approve the 2025 Omni Center financials and place on file.
Second.
We have a motion by Alder Milky. It's been seconded by Alder Lohendorf. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item 19. This is the 2025 general fund financials, and I'll once again pass over to Sabrina.
Thank you. Next in your packet, starting on page 74, is the balance sheet for the general fund. Then going to page 77 begins the budget report for the general fund. Then if I can draw your attention to page 79, the total budgeted revenue, or the total revenues through April 30th of 2024 is $8,733,686.59. Now, majority of that is property taxes. So just be mindful of that. Our interest revenue still looks strong through April 30th, and rates are kind of holding steady around 4.3, 4.4% in our money market accounts, which is great news. As of April 30th of 2024, we had 30.03% remaining to hit our total budgeted revenues. And right now, through April 30th of 2025, we're at 27.72. So we're actually ahead of where we were in 2024. Then if I can draw your attention to the last page of your packet, which is page 91, our total budgeted expenditures through April 30th of 2025 is $3,628,122.36. We have 69.97% remaining of our total budgeted expenditures. As of April 30th of 2024, we were at 72%. So still feel pretty confident where we're at in regards to expenses. Nothing's standing out, but I'll take any questions that you have.
I'll move to approve and file.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Alder Knott. It's been seconded by Alder Lohendorf. Any discussion or questions? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to item 20, adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Alder Knott. It's been seconded by Alder Lohendorf for adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We are adjourned at 6:36.
24.
Sorry, wow. 6:24, wow. I don't know, I was,
It's been a long week. Just a little back.
wow.